lot of people will be eating like 14, 11, 10,000, like really, really low calories. And they'll be sitting there, I'm like, why am I not losing weight? Like, I'm still not losing weight now. So has my body gone into starvation mode?
80% of the people I talk to, it's like, I want to lose as quick as possible. And it's like, you can lose fat quick, but it's not sustainable. You will hate it, and then you will fall off the wagon, and 5 years later, I'll see you walking down the road eating a bagel, and you'll be fatter than you were before. And I'll be like, how's your training going the last 5 years? And you'll be telling me that you didn't do anything about it. I've seen that legit.
Welcome back to the PerformWell Podcast. This is the podcast for you if you're looking for performance and wellness optimization so that you can not only smash your career, but also have a better life, better relationships, and better health. We believe that performance and wellness are yin and yang and work together. So listen in as we dive into topics that are going to help you optimize your life for the better. All right, welcome back to another episode, and today we're going to talk about starvation mode, why it exists, or does it? We'll find out in a second, and what it means for you. Are you actually starving when you don't eat enough calories over your, supposed amount? We'll find out.
The big thing is about starvation mode, a lot of people will be eating like 14, 11, 10,000, like really, really low calories. And they'll be sitting there, I'm like, why am I not losing weight? Like, I'm still not losing weight now. So has my body gone into starvation mode? And a lot of people go down this line because I think it gives a lot of inbuilt meaning to what they're doing. It makes sense in their heads that their body doesn't want to like use the energy they have stored in the body because it feels like it's going to go into starvation mode. Now, from your experience training clients, what kind of experiences you had with people on low cal?
I mean, mate, I think, first of all, low calorie diets are, if we're talking like low, like let's say 1,000, someone's obviously trying to eat 1,800 a day to lose fat, but they're actually ending up eating 1,000, then that's obviously different than 1,500 in terms of metabolic decline. People that tend to have super low calories will almost always lie and then binge at some point. So I don't know if you've experienced that. Like 5 days, they like eat under 1,000, doing really well, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, they have pizza on the weekend, beers, everything you can imagine, and they think that they're in a calorie deficit. It's completely fucking bullshit, to be honest with you.
See, the thing is, what I want to come in and say, they're true to that matter, but what for the people out there, if they are sat on 1,400 calories, say they've been wanting to lose, I don't know, they've been looking to lose a kilo a week, and according to the calculations they've done, they should be losing at least a kilo a week based on the calories they're on, but they're not losing weight.
Well, I mean, weight is a different beast entirely as well. Yeah. Like, let's just, like, I saw a video, was it Jaden?
Yeah.
It was Jaden. Like, he did something interesting. He stepped on a scale with a kilo of water. He then drank a kilo of water, and his weight was the same as when he was holding the water. Because obviously, weight is a relationship to gravity, right? So, if we're talking about weight, it's different. But if we're talking about body fat loss, which most people that are trying to lose weight are trying to go for, then it is different. Like, if it's generally they're not losing body fat and they're eating 1,400 calories a day, then there could be some metabolic decline in them. Depending on obviously the size of them, because if you're going to get a 55-year-old lady who's 5'4" or 5'2", and she's going through menopause and she's got all these other issues with her life not being very active, then you can explain that.
Yeah, because there'd be someone like that would be arousing like 1,000 calories, 900 BMR. Like, it'd be really low.
It is
really, really low.
It's scarily low how low those people can actually get down to.
But you got to factor that into obviously the person at that point in time. And the key note that if anyone's listening to this who's sitting on low calories and they keep dropping the calories but nothing's changing, us as human beings are horribly inaccurate with a lot of the stuff we do. We use our utensils like MyFitnessPal, we use other tracking apps, we use weight on the scales. The problem is, it was found in a recent study that a lot of people underreport by about 20 to 30% when they're doing their tracking. Now, that 20 to 30% can make up big margins throughout the week. Because say someone is on, I don't know, say a 1,400 calorie diet, actually over the course of the week, they're then over-consuming 280 calories a day, adding on an extra 1,200 to 1,400 calories a week on top of their targets. So, like, that was really bad maths. That was really shit maths.
I didn't even know what you said, to be fair.
It was. I'm just saying about
I lost track of that last thing you said.
You lost it in the maths.
Yeah. I was thinking about it in my head. I was like, oh.
So you're saying they're going, I don't know, they're going 200. Yeah, no, I'm right. It's around that number. So they're underreporting, but over consuming. And a lot of the time, people don't weigh food. Like, a lot of people go, yeah, I kind of know what's in that. But I can tell you right now, if you squeeze out some mayonnaise, a lot of the time you'll probably go, that's 10 grams. I can guarantee it's more than that. And mayonnaise is very calorific. Very, very calorific per 10 grams of mayonnaise.
Because I've got some peronaise over there.
I think it's about the same because it's still going to be the same combination. Good. I love peronaise. Yeah. But yeah, underreporting is a big thing. The key thing to get around that, though, is do one day really, really strict weighing. You may hate it. You may hate every minute of it.
But starvation mode, like if we change the name of it to metabolic, decline, is a real thing.
Yeah, it is.
Also metabolic adaptation, sorry. Like the body does adapt to our diet and our lifestyle to a point where you can mistake it as something called starvation mode, because starvation mode is just a scary term.
It is terrifying though. If somebody said to you, you're in starvation mode, you'd be like, yeah, I'm in starvation mode.
Technically, you're in starvation mode every time you're not eating. But
I haven't eaten yet.
We're talking about like a stupid level of like, technicality.
There was a study done in the 1960s, and it was done on young men going through the military. And there was a study done on these chaps where they actually tested this theory to see how low the calories would go and what the effect that is on basal metabolic rate and like what they were producing.
Great.
They found with these people, no matter what happened in the reduction in calories, yes, this was in males, so obviously there's less kind of hormonal side of things. Well, Nick's dribbled down himself.
This is what you get for drinking 3 liters of water.
It does. Which they found that these people continue to lose weight over time as they reduce their calories down. Yes, we can argue that hormones may change. They may have these things that come into play, such as what ladies experience. But there was a study also done in 2010, which mimicked the study on ladies. And they found no matter what the calories, when the calories were controlled by the assessors, they found that weight loss occurred at every single interval. They just had to, as you say there, when you're on a certain amount of calories, actually, to be fair, it'll be good. Explain metabolic adaptation to people, because I think there'll be a lot of people watching who don't understand it.
Well, very simply, your calories in versus your calories out is obviously the equation that matters for fat loss. But people's calories out is different depending on the person, lifestyle factors, etc. So you burn your basic metabolic rate, which is 60% of your daily calorie burn, doing absolutely nothing. And then the other 40% can differ. It could potentially be 30%, 40%, depending on your activity. If you walk more throughout the day, you might find a higher percentage of what's left of your calorie burn is NEAT, which is non-exercise activity, which is basically walking around doing, household chores, etc.
What we're doing now.
Yeah. Like for example, let's just say, for example, you were in a coma, you're in hospital for 3 months, you would burn every single day 100% of your BMR every single day, doing nothing whatsoever. You wouldn't have any NEAT, you wouldn't have any exercise added on top of that. You would have the thermic effects of feeding, which is 10%, potentially. But so we all burn calories doing absolutely nothing. We burn calories sleeping. But the body's very clever. And if you don't get enough calories in, your body will then go, right, well, let's use body fat for fuel, Then obviously your body's like, this is not sustainable long term, because eventually we will die, because eventually if you have nothing left coming in, you're going to die eventually. So your body then down regulates certain hormones, certain processes in the body. You lose muscle mass, which decreases metabolism further. You get less fidgety. You don't want to move as much. Like fidgeting alone, this is one of the reasons why when I shake my leg, I burn so many calories every day, because I'm just shaking all the time.
So just sit there, guys, just sit there and shake your leg like that.
Yeah, to be fair, right now it's not happening, but that's because I'm cutting, and I've noticed my fidgeting stopped since I've been cutting. So my body's trying to down-regulate how many calories are being burned. It's quite clever.
Yeah.
And that's the adaptation part. Your body is being adaptable to what's going on metabolically.
Yeah. No, honestly, it's one of those things that I think if you don't look at the bigger picture, and if you just type in TDE, then you can have a look at the actual diagram and it'll explain what Nick said there as well in detail, because I think a lot of people can get shocked and stunned and worried when they're not seeing the weight loss from the calories that they're on. And it's happened. I've had a lot of the time with clients, genuinely. And one of the most common conversations is, let's lower it by 100, see what happens. And most of the time they tend to lose weight. And it tends to drop down. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't. But again, then we go back to a reporting side of things. And are people reporting? Are they tracking? Because what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed. So if you're not measuring what you're doing, you can't manage what you're doing. You can't see where those changes are occurring. And as you say, fat loss and weight loss are two different things, which is a key actually thing that we should probably talk about, because a lot of people on here will be like, I just want to lose 20 kilos. But then compositionally, you at 20 kilos is very different you to 10 kilos. You could be where you want at 10 kilos time. So
Well, yeah, kind of, yeah. I mean, like weight is just not honestly the thing you should worry about.
we use it as
anyone should worry
measurables.
about weight.
No.
Yeah.
To be honest, I agree with you. If we could come away from that as a measurable, but the thing is, what do we then bring in? Like, that's our difficulty, I think, in the industry at the minute. If
You don't use one thing. Use a bunch of loads of things. Like, it's like BMI, for example, is one of the worst ways to measure health in a human being, because a bodybuilder that's not on roids, let's just go down and say they're a healthy bodybuilder, they will have a higher BMI than the average person. Potentially, it will show obesity. Well, I say average person. Average person's obese, apparently. So scrap that. But a bodybuilder that is healthy will often be shown as obese. Okay, and obviously we don't want that.
no, I agree.
So BMI is not a great tool for measuring that. That being said, though, BMI alongside your weight, alongside your body fat levels, alongside a subjective picture of how you look, for example, can give you more clarity in terms of what's going on. For example, doctors, if they're trying to test for some kind of medical issue with your body, they don't use one test. They use loads of tests, because you need to have this relationship. And I'm not trying to say creatine is a bad thing, because creatine has no side effects based on what studies have shown, except for maybe a bit of discomfort in the intestine for certain people. But if your creatine levels are higher, it can show kidney disease in the body just by taking creatine. Even though you don't have kidney disease, if you take creatine, if you just did the creatine test, it would show you have kidney disease. Can you imagine that?
It's mad, isn't it? Yeah, because it's the byproduct of utilizing creatine in the body, and it spikes it. Yeah, I've seen loads of things on like Dr. Raj Khan. He speaks about it, and there's loads of people that talk about it. But I find it fascinating. Obviously, as you say, like kind of the weight side of things is such a pivotal thing. BMI is shocking. I have an advocated hate for BMI, because I have people come in and be like, "Oh, I'm in the orange or the red." I'm like, "Yeah, but you don't look in the orange or the red. You look."
The only thing I can relate it to would be your knee health later on in life, because fuck me, heavier you are, the knees feel it more.
Yeah, I mean there is that kind of load bearing exercise, unless you have the muscles to support it, obviously.
That is true. Very hard to do.
Well, takes a bit of time, doesn't it? The key thing as well, like
maybe we're just a tall guy. Maybe that's the problem.
Maybe it's just height is the issue. Maybe you just need to get shorter. But yeah, when it comes to like metabolic decline as well, arguably there is a thing, because you said metabolic decline meant metabolic adaptation. Metabolic decline is a thing. As you get older, your metabolism does decrease. It does slow down. Arguably, though, so do a lot of the habits you do. Might be a bit controversial, because I think as people, the general population get older, there are greater responsibilities. So we then factor in less of the things we were doing when we were younger. Because if you've seen, like, there's some 80-year-olds out there who are powerlifting like 115 kilos on their back, which is mad, absolutely insane. But if you looked at yourself at the age of, say, 25, when you felt the healthiest you did, and you're now 42, what are you doing differently between those two phases? Because I can probably say for a fact, you're much less active. Much less active. Than when you were. And especially you're probably fidgeting less, probably not walking around as much. And primarily, that does come down to obviously the decay of the body over time. But still at the same time, when you're getting to that point in time, factor in that, yes, when you're older, you need to reduce your calories down. You can't be consuming the same amount. Like, we won't be able to consume over 3,000 calories when we're...
you can, but you just move more.
Well, you have to move forward in conjunction.
That's why we say to people, like, do 10,000 steps a day, because, like, it's an easy way of measuring your activity level. It's very hard to measure activity or fidgeting, for example. I mean, I know there's some attempts with these watches.
Oura rings, Whoops.
They're not quite there yet. But I'm not. Maybe the future they do have something that's very accurate. I know one way of testing calorie burn is through your carbon dioxide breathed out, right? That's what they normally do in labs and stuff. So, it's hard to know how many calories are being burned. So the best thing you can do is manage your calories in by being really good with tracking, which obviously is under-reporting. Make sure you report properly. And even then, 10% either way, if you're looking at like, MyFitnessPal and some of the recommendations are not going to be perfect.
No.
So you get the inside, so the internal calories nailed, and then the external is going to be, a little bit more difficult to track, but You go with something you can measure like steps. You go with something like an hour of walking or an hour of standing a day, for example. That's why the Apple has those rings, to try and obviously get you to stand up more. And then see how your body responds. So you're doing progress check-in. I know you say doing daily weights, scale weights, sorry, but obviously you can't do daily progress photos, measurements, and scale realistically. So I normally say a week to 2 weeks, see how your body responds with what you're doing, and then make changes.
Yeah.
And it requires being a little bit strict. Like if you're going to go on a holiday and you want to pay for a holiday to Dubai and you want to save your money for it, you're not going to do that by not looking at your bank account and just spending your money everywhere you go and thinking that you can calculate it in your head. Because I can tell you now, I've calculated in my head that I spend no more than 100 quid on coffees in a month. You know, but those £4 coffees add up, man. 300 quid 1 month on coffees.
On
man.
coffee?
Yeah.
What coffees would you buy?
Starbucks, Costas, like obviously the odd sausage bap and stuff in with them as well. Before I knew it, 300 quid.
300 quid.
Yeah. Just because I thought in my head, I nailed it. I definitely wasn't hitting starvation mode though, I could say that.
Well, no, I was definitely not. I know you like a flat white. My word, 300. Sorry, that's blown my mind.
Yeah, man.
£300 on coffee.
Now we've got that machine, so it cuts down the cost dramatically.
To £150 on pods alone.
30 quid, man.
30 quid. Oh, yeah, because you can just get the big stockpile of it.
Yeah, well, you get deals.
You get deals. Yeah, but like fat loss side of things, obviously, there's so many different like little methodologies out there. Please, if anyone's out there ever turns around to you and said you need to fix your metabolism, turn your phone off. Like, I hate the word fixing metabolism as well when it comes to starvation mode, when it comes to being on low calories and not seeing results. The problem with everything around weight loss and centered around fat loss is it's very emotional. And as soon as we create an emotional tie to it, we have an emotive response to it. So when someone comes along and says, I can solve your problems, it's like, oh my God, it's like giving literally a lollipop to a baby. They're like, oh my God, you get to solve my problems. Like my metabolism will be fixed with some lemon water or a coffee or lemon squeezed in coffee.
What about metabolic damage, man? Have you heard of that?
Never heard of it, no.
So you've heard of metabolic syndrome?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I call metabolic...
MS.
Sorry?
MS you're on about?
No, MS is the...
multiple sclerosis, yeah, no, wrong one.
No, it's metabolic syndrome anyway. I can't remember the X, but there was something X. Metabolic syndrome, you know, the diagnosis of it is interesting because, like, a doctor saying that this is what's happening to your body is one thing, but telling them that your body is now stuck this way permanently because of actions you've taken in the past is another. You know, and that's where we come in. Like, we're like, right, not everything is black and white, you know, just like diabetes is a sort of a spectrum. There is a type 1, type 2, but there's a bit of like spectrum in between it. It's also the same with metabolism. Like, you can have some level of damage that can be reversed with correct diet and training, etc. And then you can have a very mild adaptation based on your calorie intake. So, you know, an example would be a 55-year-old woman through menopause, smoked all her life and had a high sugar, high processed diet, and is type 2 diabetic. Metabolically, she's going to be worse off than someone that is 25, that's, you know, having carbs and smoking or whatever, and it's more adaptable. So that person does have some level of damage. You know, if we were just going to call it the word damage, so we understand that it's worse off than just an adaptable, you know, like that. So you would probably look at more of a change in terms of, you know, a bit more of a drastic change in terms of that diet.
I agree.
Still a sustainable approach, but maybe more of a drastic, like, you're going to have to make some changes that a 25-year-old wouldn't.
Now, let's flip the conversation, because there are ways that you can go into catastrophic, I say catastrophic with air quotes, catastrophic calorie deficits and still see the fat loss results you want to see. The way that you do that is through reverse dieting, coming back up the other direction. So you can, like, say your BMR is 2000. Let's use a very generic example. Say your BMR is 2000, but you are looking to want to lose, you've got 7 to 8 weeks that you're looking to lose about kind of, you know, 7 to 8 kilos or whatever. Like you said that in your mind and you're sitting there thinking that right now, watching this podcast or listening to it. You can go into catastrophic deficits. You could go down to 1,000 calories, but as Nick was saying about metabolic adaptation, we can come to a point where 1,000 calories still won't cut it. You won't see weight loss that you want to see, and you won't see that 8 kilos because your body will go, 1,000 calories is it then? all right, stop fidgeting, stop doing these things. But you can do that. And I think one of the biggest things when people go into these massive deficits, they see the fat loss that they want to see. They don't bring their calories up slowly. Everything is slow. Like, stop trying to go 500 calorie deficit, 500 calorie maintenance, 500 calorie deficit, 500 calorie Your body doesn't know what's going on.
500 anyway.
Uh-huh.
It's just the only reason why a 500 deficit came out is because over the course of a week, 7 days, 3,500 calories burned. That's a pound of fat. So everyone thought 500 deficit a day is the golden number. It doesn't have to be like that.
No.
It's interesting because there's something called energy flux, which is basically that the higher calorie you eat, the more higher your calorie intake is, the higher your metabolism becomes. So yes, you might still gain fat because it's over the surplus amount, but your metabolism's at a healthier place, potentially. So your goal when you're cutting is to have the calories as high as possible in a deficit, as opposed to the opposite.
Yeah.
Because your body does better. You know, you need a certain amount of fat to function, otherwise you die. Okay. If we're going to be, super direct about it, you need fat to survive. You need protein to survive, but you don't need carbs, but they do help. They're good for energy. So you need a certain amount of calories for everything to work properly. And once you've hit that, everything above, you can cut out as a deficit and lose fat whilst performing optimally.
Yeah.
But most people, they'll eat shit diets, loads of carbs, loads of sugars, loads of processed food, and then they'll cut that down, but still keep it in, but not increase their protein or fat.
Yeah.
And they wonder why their body is struggling to operate.
Apologies for interrupting the podcast. We know you're getting fully engrossed into this episode, and we really appreciate you stopping on the video on YouTube or on Spotify if you found us through one of the search pages. Make sure to leave a review and a subscription if you haven't already. But we just wanted to interject a point here that me and Nick have 15 years of coaching experience between us, and it's only getting better as we've got better guests on the podcast. The only way we can do that, though, is with the growth of our program that we've just released. We've got a 12-month PerformWell program, which has just dropped, and we'd love you guys to get involved in it. If you want to learn more details, make sure to head to the description, as we've got our website in there, which can give you a full overlay of the program. We're looking to help career-driven professionals, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and anyone dominate their life by improving their lifestyle. Me and Nick like to claim ourselves as experts in this area, and if you want to check out some of our other transformations, I'm sure you do. We've got some amazing people who have performed so well off the back of this program. Have a cracking day, and we really appreciate your time. Let's get back to the podcast.
You know, one thing I also hate is punishment culture with exercise as well. Like punishment culture with exercise with food. There was a video I saw that went viral, and it was a lad who ate a cookie from an American store. And he ate the cookie. It was like, this cookie's 437 calories. It's going to take me like a 10K run to burn off these 437 calories. He's like, I must punish myself. And the thing is, punishment with food has always been there. It's just been more publicized.
Yeah.
Paige from Love Island. I don't know if you follow Love Island from years gone by. Paige, who was with Jax.
Years gone by, you mean right now?
Not now, no. Paige on Love Island did literally Punisher workouts, and people literally, they used to be big things, Punisher workouts. Finishers, Punisher workouts, like, they were the thing. They were the things to burn more calories. But the problem is, fat burn is not the same as fat loss.
Yeah.
They're two different things with two different parameters. And a lot of people are going to be sitting there like, but if I'm burning fat, I'm losing fat. Different fats. Different fats. Like, we're not using subcutaneous fat when we're burning fat for fuel. We're using our triglycerides. We're using the different, just different amounts of fat across the body. I'm not going to go through naming them because,
like, for example, low intensity cardio. So it oxidizes fat more than any other energy system. That doesn't mean you lose fat, though.
No.
Technically you are losing fat in that situation.
Yes.
Like
dietary fat, though.
But then you put it back on immediately after if you're not in a deficit.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's more optimal for the moment you're doing it, but afterwards you put it all back on and you haven't lost anything.
Plus, the entertaining thing about people trying to burn more calories than what they're consuming, they're trying to outrun their diet almost, is that a lot of the time when they're trying to outrun their diet, your body balances itself out later in the day. So you could burn 1,000 calories. Like, for example, when Rob was doing his cycle up the UK, when Rob was doing that, he was burning a lot, but when he was sleeping, his BMR would be hella low.
Yeah.
Like, it would be basically conserving all the energy that he had left in his body, because he's like, what the fuck are we doing? But like, you can, to a point, overdo it with your exercise where your body just compensates. So like, say your EAT, exercise activity thermogenesis,
Thermogenesis?
Not thermogenesis.
Genesis.
I call it genesis.
You say for genesis?
Genesis. I don't know. It's like when we say...
I've never heard that way before.
It's like TEF. It's,
Thermogenesis.
yeah. Thermic effect of
It's
food.
like
Or that.
Terminator Genesis.
Genesis.
Not Genesis.
Genesis. I don't know. It just rolls off the tongue easier. I can't help it.
Is it hypertrophy or hypertrophy?
Hypertrophy.
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 It's hypertrophy.
Hypertrophy.
I thought it's hypertrophy.
I know it's
so it
hypertrophy, but
depends-
I've always called it hypertrophy.
Yeah. I can't remember if it's the Americans or the UK that says it the other way. But
So how would you say like hypertrophic?
no, I say hypertrophy,
You do, yeah.
but I've heard it hypertrophy.
Hypertrophic.
Hypertrophy. Sorry.
So it'd be like
and sometimes I do say that, and it sounds better. I don't know. What
No,
sounds better?
I'd say what you guys saying that, but yeah, like your body will balance out basically is what
Do you
I'm
know
trying to say.
something interesting about the body, right? When you have, if you eat more calories, right, your body will digest and use less of those calories than if you ate less calories. So the percentage of calories used would be higher if you ate less calories. So let's say you're in a calorie deficit by like 200, your body is going to be far better at digesting and using the calories you're eating out of those 200 less, deficit than if you had 500 over.
Yeah.
Your body would actually excrete some of those calories. You wouldn't actually digest them and break them down and use them. Your body's very clever.
I find everything interesting. Like the body in general is just interesting because I've been listening to a podcast, slight tangent here on sleep. So if you got shit sleep, this is for you. I was listening to one with Chris Williamson and Matthew Walker, and he was talking about building up sleep pressure. So in some regards, you build up diet pressure too, where you force your body to be more efficient with what it's doing. So like by dropping your calories lower, you're basically saying, right, I'm not going to give you enough today. You got to work with what we got. If you don't work well with what you got, well, you're going to fuck us in the arse. So we need to sort this shit out. So you digest the calories better, and then we'll move on from there.
Do you know what it comes down to?
What?
Something called homeostasis.
Yeah.
Like if people just realize the body doesn't like to gain fat, it doesn't like to lose fat. It likes to stay where it is.
Stay the same.
And so, let's say, for example, over the course of a week, you might have a binge day, but then you'll have the day after you won't eat as much. 9 times out of 10, you'll see it in people's food diaries. And that's not even a guilt thing. That's just your body going, right, we've eaten enough, let's stop now. So your body likes to stay here. And over time, it does accumulate upwards because of lifestyle factors and responsibilities that we talked about, where you don't move as much. But if you're able to just realize that your body likes to stay where it is, then it only takes a tiny little effort in the deficit, direction to start seeing fat loss. You don't need a massive change. You just need to be like, right, 200 deficit less a day, good control of actually what's like good tracking of my diet, and be active, and then it will start to melt away. And don't get too caught up in like trying to see the number change quick.
No.
Like if you do that, you're not going to enjoy the journey. You're going to be stressed out. And I see everyone fucking do this, man. It annoys me. 80% of the people I talk to, maybe 90% are like this. They say, I want to lose as quick as possible. And it's like, you can lose fat quick-ish, kind of. But it's not sustainable. You will hate it, and then you will fall off the wagon, and 5 years later I'll see you walking down the road eating a bagel, and you'll be fatter than you were before, and I'll be like, how's your training going the last 5 years?
But I haven't trained.
Yeah. And you'll be telling me that you didn't do anything about it. And
Yeah.
like I've seen that legit, and that's why I mentioned it.
It's interesting, isn't it? And the key thing you said there was about the people, one, not taking responsibility for the way that they are. Because I think, if I'm honest, a lot of the time it comes down to just people not actually taking responsibility for what they do. I said it in the last podcast, you don't have to diet forever. Like, you just don't. Everyone thinks you've got to stay in a calorie deficit for life. Like, me and Nick, arguably, will lose fat a lot quicker than 90% of the listeners. 100%, because we've taught our bodies to do it. It knows how to do it. It's like when you go for a long run. You may have like a couple of months out running, but if you've done a long run before, you normally know how to respond to doing a long run, and so does your body. Same thing with fat loss. If you'd lost body fat in the past, you're going to find it easier to lose body fat again. But the key thing is not continuously cycling around, losing body fat, gaining body fat, going, I'm fat and podgy, then going, oh, I feel skinny and happy again.
If you're dieting more than 3 months a year, you're doing it wrong.
Agreed.
Unless you're overweight, like, okay, let's say, for example, like one of our clients, Mark, for example, the weight he's at, he needs to get down quick. That's fine. Different story.
Completely different
We're
kettle of
talking
fish,
obesity
though.
versus, someone of a slightly overweight build.
Yeah, it is, and that is a key point. Completely different kettle of fish when you're talking about, put it in perspective, obesity as a health implication and just wanting to lose a little bit of the love handles around here. Completely different kettles of fish.
I know obviously, like, we've got a load of different listeners from all different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Most of you, professionals. Yeah, most of you you're trying to improve your careers, you're trying to look the best you can. You feel a little bit, a bit more overweight than you want to be, a bit soft around the middle, etc. You're not the kind of people that need to be worried about losing fat as quick as possible. Take the slower approach. You'll look far better and you'll feel far better than if you took the fast approach. And you don't want to go down that road.
What I do want to say on a quick topic, and I want to know how many people, if raise a hand in the comments if you're like this, how many people feel like the word calorie deficit just goes over their head these days? Because it's said so much. I think it is said so much without having connotations behind it. And so many people go, how do I lose weight? And people just go, calorie deficit. I'm like, calorie deficit, but how are we going to make this person get into a calorie deficit? And then it's a strategy behind it. Because sometimes, even as a PT, I say it so much, I hear it so much, I'm bored of calorie deficits. Can people not just sit in maintenance, enjoy their health for a period of time? Actually have a body that functions well. I'm going to be dieting for just a little bit because I actually want to drop actual weight, how much mass in relation to the body. So when I'm running, I feel lighter. That's basically it. But genuinely, just focus on where you are now and don't keep overthinking every day that goes by, because you do lose fat on a day-by-day basis. You also gain fat on a day-by-day basis. And it's about having that equilibrium where you're losing more fat on a day-by-day basis than what you're putting on. So it's overall, I think that's
it's annoying. It's annoying, guys. Stop it.
Yes, just stop it.
You're gonna lose fat, cool. Get a little fat calorie deficit, lose a bit of fat, but at the same time, try and eat enough protein that support your muscle growth. So at least you're getting toned in the process. Get to the gym, track your performance goals, because that's far more exciting than seeing your weight go down.
Well, that's the key thing. If you're going into gym sessions or exercise sessions at home, set little targets with what you're doing. Say if I've got 5 kilo dumbbells, I want to be doing the 7 kilo dumbbells in 2 weeks' time. Set a deadline, set a rigorous schedule. And this is why a lot of people get so overwhelmed with stuff, because there's so much going on in their brains to get them to get to the end result, when in reality, all they need is that one little bit of guidance to say, hey, try this. You might see a change here. We've had some people in our challenge turn around and just do a daily stretching routine, 5-10 minutes long, and they feel the best they have ever felt. Yeah, Sarah, she's done amazing.
I mean, I'm not to call you out, Sarah, but no, I've known her for almost a year in the gym that I work at, and I've explained stretching as an important habit to do, and like most people do, obviously it just goes over their head. Cool, you've said it a few times, I've done it a few times in classes, but I haven't actually done it religiously every day. Part of the challenge, she creates it as a habit, actually starts doing it every day, and now she sees why it's so good. And that's not to call you out, Sarah, but because 95% or more people do the same thing. And I get it, we're busy, we've got busy lives, and we don't necessarily see the inherent quick value of doing something like that.
We always look for the right time. And there isn't a right time to improve your health. Genuinely, and that's not me trying to market, there is not a right time to improve your health. You have to find the things that you can fit into your life now, because if you're waiting weeks and weeks, that's another 2 weeks off your life, another 3 weeks off your life.
There is a right time. No.
Oh, what?
Cliche in it, but it's true. Think about it. Think about it. Yeah. If you were to say your potential was here and you're here, right? You want to get to your potential as fast as possible. Technically, if you don't start now improving your health, you'll never reach this potential. Your potential will just go down a little bit. Your potential here will never be met if you don't start taking action on the things you want to do right now. If you wait, it's only going to come down each time. And that's scary for me. As a business owner ourselves and trainers and athletes, the scariest thing is knowing that everything I don't do is making my potential come down. Lower and lower, 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 lower. I'll never reach where I want to reach. And so you start now, for sure, 100%. Whether your goal is to improve your career or build a business or some other travel goals you've got or whatever it is, your health is the most important thing. If you didn't have it, you'd be in a hospital bed wishing you could be out of the bed and moving around and feeling good.
And it is always the age-old saying, health is the crown worn by the healthy person but only seen by the ill. Genuinely. Until you get ill, you don't value the position that you're in. You don't value the fact that you can move, you can walk, you can function. A lot of you people watching this can move, can walk, can function. And this comes from an emotional background. I just want to kind of say one thing. I had a granddad who was in a hospital bed for over a year, and that man wished he could walk. I know he's 93. He wished he could walk. And there's people sitting there saying, I can't be bothered to get the scales out of the cupboard and lose a bit of fat. I can't be bothered to go for a 20-minute walk. That's what they're saying to me. That's not actually what they're saying. They're going, I had this. There are people out there who want to actually sort their lives out, and you're sat on your ass thinking, I can't be bothered to do this today because it's raining. You know? That's genuinely like, I know that's a very emotional response to this, but get your head out the gutter and realise there's so much more potential in what you're doing in your life.
Mate, it's because we only deal with the problem that's currently in face of us.
Yeah.
Like that's the problem with the human race in general, from what I've read, is that we do not deal with problems that are going to come up in the future very well. Yeah. But we can see them. And so, like, you know, climate change is a big one, for example. You know, we need to obviously do things for the climate that are not destroying it. However, how do you teach everyone to start recycling and doing the things that's going to, you know, take to actually help the climate? It's because you're not going to see the effects right now.
Side note on that.
Yeah.
Very irritating thing very quickly to round off on. Sorting out my gas and electricity for the move that I've got at the minute. £8 a month extra for me to use renewable energy. I have to pay to use renewable energy.
Yeah.
That there's multi-billion-pound companies out there that are making however much money sorting all this shit out, and I have to pay £8 more on my bill. What kind of world do we live in?
Go with Octopus, man. We've got Octopus, and we get paid back.
It's not sponsored by Octopus, by the way.
We get paid back for not using electric.
I didn't even know that was a thing
at peak times.
Really?
Yeah. Because renewable energy, like for example, let's say you use more energy at night time when everyone's sleeping. Then during that time, energy demands are less, so therefore they can supply a nice steady rate. They don't want to like overload the system, the energy system too much,
right?
You know, but everyone using it at the same time, otherwise you get blackouts.
So I've got like OVO wanting to charge £8. You got Octopus who's giving you money back. I know who I'm going for.
Octopus affiliate PerformWell podcast.
Could you imagine?
Oh man, we're not there yet, but imagine if we were
in time. If there are anyone out there, by the way, just as a round off to this podcast, if there's anyone out there with someone looking to sponsor an up and coming podcast, we're over 80 episodes now. We're coming on to the 100 mark for this episode.
We've got to the point where I don't even remember anymore.
No, I don't know. We've done loads of them. If there's anyone out there with people who would like to sponsor the podcast and come, you know, help the podcast grow, because I think we need that opportunity to get in front of more faces. We know we deliver the right information, but we'd appreciate obviously anyone's help out there. Please just drop a comment, drop us a message. You know, you got mine and Nick's Instagrams from the description. But yeah, I think we round off there, to be honest. That's been a solid little pod.
Yeah, and I think if we're just going to be very practical, so make sure you're not under-reporting on your calories, and then make sure you're just having some level of activity in your life, and then measure and see what happens with your body, and then go from there.
Yeah, 100%. As Nick said there, reiterate it. Don't just blame the world for your problems. Actually take action on them, and maybe sit down once and actually have a solid day of tracking, rather than be like, oh yeah, I did track, kind of tracked, but actually sit down and track. All right, guys, thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to follow, and make sure to leave a like on this podcast. We really appreciate the community growing. It's going to ever grow, and we will catch you guys later.